Welcome, beautiful yogis. We are here to relax in restorative yoga. So glad you're here. Our opening pose is lying back on your bolster with your blankies supporting your legs and the big old bolster supporting your spine. So I'll give you a little demo, but I think you know what to do. And there's always that choice with the legs, cobbler's pose, or extended out straight. And so, also known as the open book pose, the spine of your body right along the middle and falling away each side. And as you close your eyes, dropping in, see what's here. What is your current state of being? Know that it's a constantly shifting mood, a state that, like when we look at the sky, the clouds are moving, it's changing all the time. And so however it is, take a deep breath in, let it in, let it in, let it in, little pause, and we'll blow the breath away. Coming as we are. Again, the nose inhales, draws the breath in. So full, so inflated with the breath, a little holding moment, and then blowing it away. Staying with this. Each time that we pause and hold the breath, a sense of treasuring your own aliveness, and then letting it go on the exhale, and with it goes the carbon dioxide of your breath, the feeling of openness through your body. It subsides and relaxes back, and we are dropping into a more relaxed place. So stay with this breathing for a few more cycles. Tonight, as we go through the yoga poses, we're going to make a little visit to Dharamsala. So Dharamsala is a town in North India where the Tibetans who had to leave Tibet when the Chinese took over the country. So many Tibetans crossed the Himalayan mountains at great peril. And one of those main people who crossed the Himalayas was the Dalai Lama himself. So Dharamsala is now the residence of the Dalai Lama. There's a little town there. I personally haven't been, but I've seen pictures and heard stories of those who have been there. It's not easy to get there either. From the West. It's a long way. So as you breathe and relax, we will visit this small and very auspicious place and see if there are any teachings there that could be helpful to us as we rest and breathe. The Dalai Lama, as you know, carries the wisdom tradition of Tibetan Buddhism. And oddly enough, thanks to the Chinese taking over Tibet, Tibetan Buddhism has been exported, so to speak. And now there are teachers all over the planet bringing this incredible wisdom. Tonight's wisdom will be brought to you through the voice of the Dalai Lama's cat. So as you rest and breathe, receive the little storytelling. Even as you rest and breathe, your body's already starting to Open through the shoulders, through the heart, staying attentive to your breath. We transport ourselves into this little book cafe. It's called the Himalaya Book Cafe. It is both a tea shop and a bookstore. And it is a place where you would see a notice board with talks that are being given, Westerners needing a ride. And it is a favorite haunt of visitors from the West to go to check in, to network, and see what's happening in Dharamsala during their visit. The Dalai Lama himself lives in his own residence, and it's his cat who is his emissary. So here is the Dalai Lama's cat beginning the story. I was enjoying my usual siesta at the Himalaya Book Cafe one afternoon when I opened my eyes briefly to see two women sitting at the table nearest me. "Oh, look, Jenny, a cat!" exclaimed one of the women in an English accent, becoming aware of me as I blinked. "The blue eyes," enthused her friend. "There you are, Lynn. Something beautiful to admire in India at last." Lynn was non-committal. When two Western friends visit India, I've discovered it's not unusual for one of them to be very much more enthusiastic about their adventures than the other. And for the enthusiast to try, against sometimes insurmountable odds, to share their zeal. Reaching out my front paws, I yawned widely. "Look at that," observing Lynn disapprovingly. "There's something so smug about cats." "Oh, but we all yawn," countered Jenny with irrefutable logic. Anyway, Lynn was not to be dissuaded. A restaurant's no place for a cat. Au contraire, I thought, closing my eyes again sleepily. I couldn't think of a more congenial venue for a feline to enjoy a delectable treat, followed by a little nap. It wasn't much later when I was aware of a very different presence. Geshe Wangpo was one of Nyamgal Monastery's most revered teachers, a lama who combined the old-school rigor with heartwarming compassion in equal measure. His visits to places like the Himalaya Book Cafe were rare, and always with a particular purpose. He was striding directly from the cafe entrance towards the bookstore. Seeing him arrive, Sam, the manager, descended the few steps from the book section, a volume wrapped and ready for him. The two exchanged a few words, and Sam returned to the shop. Which was when English visitor Jenny got up from her table and approached the Lama. "Excuse me, are you at the monastery here?" She gestured in the general direction of Namgyal. Geshe Wangpo nodded, making no mention of the fact not only was he at the monastery, but one of his own most senior lamas. "I wonder if you can help me," she asked. In her 50s, with a certain quiet poise, there was something beseeching about Jenny's expression. "Of course, my dear," he regarded her kindly. "I've always been drawn to Buddhism, to the practice of loving kindness. to meditation and mind training. These are things I really admire. And she placed a hand on her heart. But there's something I find really hard to understand, to reconcile, really. Geshe-la was following her closely. Well, perhaps it's my English upbringing, she paused, looking awkward. He nodded, his focus unwavering. And it's really why I came all the way here to Dharamsala, she said, thereby confirming her role as the initiator of the overseas adventure with Lynn. But I just can't seem to... She trailed off. The Lama reached out, clasping her hand briefly. You can tell me, he encouraged. Well, it's a bit, well, maybe not embarrassing exactly. I don't want to cause offense. It's something that I see all the time, and I find it... Geshe Wangpo's expression turned more commanding. Just say it, he said. Okay, she swallowed before taking a deep breath. It's all the bowing and scraping, she finally blurted out. You mean? At temples in front of the Buddha statues. Once started, there was no holding her back. And I've read about people walking all the way to Lhasa from remote parts of Tibet, and every 3 steps they're getting down on the ground, and I can't think of the word. Prostrating? A gleam had appeared in the Lama's eyes. That's it, she nodded. Bowing before graven images? He probed the cause of her unease. Well, that side of things doesn't worry me, she said. I'm not at all religious. She seemed relieved, though, that the subject was out in the open. It's just that I can't see any point in it. The point? The point of bowing down in front of a statue, however beautiful it may be. You're not helping the statue. All you're doing is getting your hands dirty, and for no particular reason that I can see. Geshe Wangpo wasn't a man who chuckled very much, but hearing her say this, he burst out laughing. Oh, you're too funny, he told her after a while. And Jenny looked bemused. Hands dirty for no particular reason, he repeated, chortling, before saying breathlessly, Excellent. That is a very good question. So we'll leave the story a moment, beautiful yogis, checking in with your breathing and the state of your body and your commitment to relaxing and letting your body drape over the props. Savoring the next few breaths in the not knowing what comes next. Your breathing body in this shape. Nourished by your own commitment to come to class today. Nourished by your own recognition of the benefit of this. And as you know, it's not only for you, it's for the ones near you, around you. And it's part of the healing of our planet as we reset our nervous system and become calm and centered. Enjoying the next 3 or so breaths in this place. And then very gently as you inhale, raise your arms way high, straight up. And as you exhale, take your arms wide again and sweep them around your knees and bring them up. And gently roll over off your setup to make our way to our next shape, which I'm going to show you. And it's going to be the revolved child's pose. The bolster can stay. We just rearrange the blankies. One we open up to sit on, and the other can support the knees out to the side. So we're going to start on our left seat, left buttock. Get really close to your bolster. On your platform blankie, your second blankie can support your top knee. And we're going to come into a little twist, a forward-facing twist. So a hand on each side, rotate your ribs to the left. Sitting a left buttock, turn ribs to left. Come forward along the middle and rest on your left ear. And let your arms soften and relax. Allowing your body to drop right down into this bolster support. And feeling in your body this new shape, new places to feel. As we now rest and breathe, breath awareness coming into your back, particularly. But keep it effortless, easy going. Making sure that you are completely comfortable in your body here before I take your mind back to our story. So, hands dirty for no particular reason, he repeated, chortling, before saying breathlessly, "Excellent. That's a very good question." When the Lama had recovered his composure, he tilted his head to one side for a moment. "I think you're right. This is a little bit cultural. In the West, you shake hands. In the East," and he brought his palms to his heart, "more like this." She nodded. When we prostrate, we are taking refuge. Now, this is a big subject, and there are different levels of understanding. "Well, I've heard of taking refuge," she said. "But why the need to bow down in front of a statue to take refuge?" No need, he told her. "True refuge we take here," and he raised a hand to his heart. "Well, exactly. There are many reasons why we might choose to bow, not to the statue, but to what the statue represents to us." "Do you mean the historical Buddha?" "Yes, and not only him, to any and all beings who have attained enlightenment since the beginning of time, of which there are countless numbers, and they are still with us." He gestured with an open hand facing upwards. Just because we can't see them with our limited perception doesn't mean they're not here. "Oh, I accept that," replied Jenny. "What we can see is the statue," he noted. "So, we use it to represent not only Shakyamuni Buddha, but all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, any enlightened being in the 3 times 10 directions. Sometimes we call these our our field of merit. It was evident from the furrows forming on Jenny's forehead that this was not a term she'd heard before. In Tibet, Lama Geshe continues, in Tibet, the traditional way to become self-sufficient is through farming in fields. You grew barley and other foods to feed yourselves and to grow food for yaks. If you worked hard and cultivated a lot of crops, you could gain wealth. In the same way, the field we need to cultivate if we are to attain self-sufficiency, to gain riches of the mind, is the field of higher consciousness. So Jenny paused while she considered her question carefully. You're not actually worshipping Buddhas? Geshe Wangpo shook his head definitively. There's no worship of any kind. Some spiritual traditions put their leaders on a pedestal. They see them as separate, superhuman, beyond anything that we can even try to become. Our approach in Buddhism is quite different. We say, such and such was an exceptional being. How can I be more like him or her? How can I attain the same transcendence? The simple act of aspiring to be more like them, of wishing to become like them, which we do when we prostrate, this can help us move closer to our goal. Jenny's changing expression revealed a new understanding. A little pause in the story to come back into the breathing body, to here and now. This here now moment, supporting your intention. This continuing part of our revolved child's pose. Let's breathe in for 5 counts and out for 10 counts. See how that feels. Following your breath with your own silent measurement. Smoothening and lengthening that exhalation until it's twice as long as the inhale. So beautiful, yogis. Let's gently take the second side of our pose. Use your strong arms to come up, pressing up. And just wake your way to the second side. Your knees going to walk to the left. Your supportive blanket, you can bring it along and sit down on your right butt cheek. Strategizing that you're really close to your bolster and that your support blanket now supports your leg on the other side. And we lift and turn and fold forward again on the bolster to lie and be held. Let the bolster receive you. Let your arms and shoulders fall forward and let your head be comfy, turned to one way or the other. So the gentle way, right buttock, right ear. Some of us a little more mobility. You could try being on the left ear, just where your body's at today. Breathing into your back. So let's go back to the Himalayan book, Tea Cafe, and listen in again through the voice of the Dalai Lama's cat, the teaching that is happening between Geshe-la, the Lama, and Jenny, the girl from England. Geshe-la continues. You mentioned mind training, cultivating a good heart. When we take refuge in the Buddha, this is what we're saying. Refuge means taking clear direction. When we prostrate, we are saying, this is the direction I'm taking. In the Buddha as a model of who I wish to become. In his teachings, the Dharma, as his explanation on how to do it. And with my teachers and fellow students, the Sangha, to help me on the way. So, you see, wagging a finger playfully towards her, not worshipping of statues. No, Jenny's expression had brightened considerably. It sounds more like a form of affirmation, a physical affirmation we do with our body. The Lama regarded her carefully before continuing. I mentioned that taking refuge has different levels. Taking refuge in the historical Buddha and other enlightened beings, this is one level, one form of affirmation. He said, we call it cause refuge, because we are taking refuge in Buddhas as the ones who show us the causes for enlightenment. But there is another level, and his eyes were shining. You might say an even more auspicious reason of why we prostrate. Completely absorbed, Jenny stepped closer to him. It's called result refuge, he told her, because we remind ourselves that right now we have Buddha nature. We already possess it. We don't need to create it or go in search for it or pay someone to help us find it. My true nature, your true nature, he rested his hand on her wrist for a moment, is boundless, radiant, pristine. And once awakened to that fact, there's no reason why we can't fully realize our Buddha potential. Now you see, he continued after a pause, when we prostrate, we are celebrating this. Not only do we have the perfect teachers and teachings, and even though we are currently human beings, we are reminding ourselves that our true nature is very different. The potential for a reality that is panoramic, imbued with loving kindness and ever-increasing bliss, is already here now. Completely awake and having been listening to the intriguing exchange, I roused myself on top of the shelf of the magazine rack, hopped to the floor, and feeling the need for a good stretch, performed a lengthy and tremulous sun salutation in front of Geshe Wangpo. After I finished, I approached him, sliding my fluffy form against his legs, doing my best to ensure that I left a souvenir of our encounter in the form of a swatch of white fur on his red robe. Like this, the Lama bent to stroke me as I pressed against him. Beside him, Jenny was chuckling. This cat also has Buddha nature, Geshe-la reminded her, like all sentient beings. Did you hear that, Lin? Jenny looked back over her shoulder. But Lin was staring at her phone, scrolling down a news feed, oblivious. My friend, she murmured to the Lama, my friend thinks that cats are arrogant. Geshe Wangpo raised his eyebrows as he contemplated the idea. Better, I think, to say that they are choosy. Choosy? Particular, he elaborated, discerning, which is exactly what we should be when deciding what to take refuge in. And who to prostrate to, said Jenny. True. And the two of them shared a smile. So, there you have it, dear reader. So there you have it, dear listener. When it comes to taking refuge, defer to your inner feline. Be very choosy about who you take refuge in. Don't settle for anyone less than a fully enlightened being. And don't be afraid of getting your paws dirty when you prostrate to the cause of your future transcendence, as well as to its result. For as the possessor of Buddha nature, transcendence may be much closer to your heart than you ever dared imagine. So radiant ones, beautiful yogis. Let's gently now complete this second side of our revolved child's pose and make your way to child's pose itself. We have options here. You can lie flat on your tummy with your legs extended, or you can sit in child's pose over the bolster setup just as we have it. A blankie and between your thighs is a good way to protect your knees as you lie forward. And some need that and some don't. Settle in now to the straight line of your spine, resting forward. Sense your breathing body, how the breath is always here to come back to. A lot of the Buddhist teachings are thoughts, but when they land deeply, they become a way of being. So we could see this as a cultivation. A cultivation to break our habits of thought, our random thinking, which is why the counting breath is a terrific way to keep your attention on your breath, to interrupt the random thoughts. They become background as you go back to that 1-2 ratio of breathing. 5 in, 10 out, or 4 in, 8 out. Knowing that this is not only occupying your mind and keeping you out of autopilot breath, but it is indicating that it is safe to relax. Your body, your nervous system in particular, is attuned to how we breathe and what we're thinking and what emotions are running through us. So this way of breathing is a way of coming into here and now, into the body, present, mindful. Mindful in the sense of being the observer. It's as though we are taking refuge in our breath. As you complete this long exhalation, press your hands to the mat, push up, and coming out of child's pose, give your legs a little stretch. Ooh, like that cat. So good to stretch out. Stretch and yawn, why not? And now we'll set up for the seated forward bend. So get your blocks, make your tabletop. And your seat. Again, the back will be in its own lane, so to speak, not revolved, not arching back. This time long and straight as we lean forward. So as you know, forward bends are calming and inward. You can have straddle legs, crossed legs, the distance from your seat to your brow, best you can in a straight line. Your forehead at rest on your hands or a pillow, so that you do feel supported and can still easily breathe through your nose. So in this shape, we'll change the breath pattern, breathing now a rectangle. So you'll inhale 4, the hold at top for 2, the exhale 4, and the empty hold for 2. Couple of breaths like that. Very attentive to the breath, which we can now segue into the square breath, where all 4 parts of the breath are the same length. Always good to start with 4. You might segue to 5. See how it goes for you. Moving now into the square breath. Continuing the square breath practice. Some of you might go up a number, make your square bigger. Any discomfort, let it go, make a smaller square. Staying in the seated forward bend, letting go the breath pattern. Let your attention fill the whole body. How is it now? And then very slowly, come on up to sit. Finding the way that you can sit really upright as you are or against a wall. And this is when we do alternate nostril breathing. You remember how it goes? Right hand thumb closes right nostril, in left. Close it up and pause. Exhale right. Completing the exhale, pause on empty. And then same side, right side, breathe in. We pause at the top to switch sides, still holding the pause. And then the exhale is on the left side. So we're out of breath and we rest without breath. Same side in. Pause at the top. So we are now doing the square breath, alternating nostrils. Exhale right. and the empty pause on the right to inhale right. So cueing yourself in this particular breath pattern. And best you can, it's a square breath, and if it's agitating, just breathe normally in the alternate nostril pattern without the long pauses. So when you arrive at the full breath and the pause, let your hand rest down, exhaling through both nostrils, and letting the body breathe you now, being in that witness, observer state. No longer directing or shaping. Going deeper into stillness and spaciousness. So effortless after that practice. And then seamlessly, let's come onto the back with the legs elevated now over your setup or against the wall. Getting comfy on your back. Settling, arriving, receiving this being held. This being breathed. So let's gently complete the elevated legs position. Just draw your knees in. And then rolling to your side. Little rock is good. We undo the tabletop to set up for supported bridge pose. Your blocks can now be little receivers for your feet. As we're going to be on the back again, but the bolster will be placed underneath your low back, right at your sacrum. So we're on the back without a head pillow. That can be at the top of your mat. And just bring the bolster right under your low back, your sacrum, straighten the legs or leave them bent, and create space for your armpits with your upward turned hands a little ways from your body. This changing of positions brings a whole new set of sensations to feel, to receive, to allow. Finding refuge in the breath. Which allows us to see and experience and witness the waves of breath, the distant thoughts, reflections, and knowing that we have everything we need to be awakened, to be the Buddha. The word Buddha, in fact, meaning awakened one, awakened to the true nature. And so, radiant ones, let's complete this pose, making your way now to Shavasana, where we're completely on the back with the bolster now under the knees and the head pillow under your head if you like. And in tonight's Shavasana, I'd like to take you through this Buddhist practice that is this merging of the awakened one in our own body. And so I don't know who of you might be practicing the Buddhist path. So as we are in a Western culture and not in the Himalayas now, we'll invoke the awakened one as a radiant, luminous being. Now, if you have such a being that you are connected with already, that could be Tara or Buddha or Jesus or Kuan Yin or Mary Magdalene or the illumined being. Allow such an image to appear before you, letting such an image grow in your mind. A being of light, and what is the quality, the essence of this being that calls you? Is it compassion? Is it wisdom, beauty, patience, unconditional love? Allowing now your heart center to open. And you can open it with your breathing, deeper breathing at your heart. And have a sense of a whole rainbow of light streaming from your heart. An entire rainbow of light streaming from your heart as an offering to the awakened one who is now very near you. Your light pouring towards the awakened one. Who now streams light into you. So gloriously luminous. So all-encompassing, letting the light dissolve into your illuminated body. How you are now filled with light from the inside out, and see your body become now this luminous, awakened being. This merging of light, no separation. So that all these qualities in the form of light, wisdom, unconditional love, beauty, patience, courage, are filling your being, the bones, the blood, the organs of your physical body, the space, the light, the prana through you and around you. All of it is light. Connected, merged as one. This is you. I am that. Tat Tvam Asi. And letting this image now fade away, just the way a rainbow fades in the sky. And we close with a prayer. Through this goodness, may awakening spontaneously arise in our streams of being. May all obstacles and distortions fall away. May all beings be liberated from suffering and the stormy waves of birth, sickness, old age, and death. May all beings be well. So, radiant ones, we gently come back to the physical form, moving your hands, your feet, a little stretch and a little hug. To roll on your side a moment and rest in gratitude. And as you are ready, we'll come to sit in gratitude. We are so grateful that you show up for these practices. Namaste.